welcome back to the Grand Prix at DreamHack Summer. We're in for the third top 16 here at the DreamHack Summer, and this will be a match between Mangolicious and Slugg. What a name. Subtle and Raven, you're here with me. Do we know anything about those guys? Not really, right? They're new names.
Yeah, these are the two kind of breakouts from the Swiss. Slugg is a Danish player, so I tried to talk to Crane about him, who of course is also probably the most well-known Danish player out there. But he said, he's spoken to him before, but he's not even like a huge deal in the Danish scene. So he's come out of nowhere, improved a lot recently, and is putting that improvement to work here at DreamHack. So he's obviously going to be pleased with his Swiss result. Mangolicious, I couldn't find any information for. I scoured the internet. And the best I can find is references to his run in this tournament. They're up there on some sites already.
It's already up there.
Yeah,
it's fresh
despite
news
my
right
best
now.
efforts, he is a complete unknown to me, unfortunately. But obviously, impressive run through the Swiss as well.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting and maybe, kind of against the odds is that these two players that we are relatively unknown and have put in a great performance in the Swiss have somehow ended up against each other. Yeah. So one of them is going to go into top 8 tomorrow and, move at least one stage forward. So a big deal for both of these players and a lot on the line here.
Yeah, well, after Swiss with top 16 cut, there will be a few new names, and that's great because it's always great to see new names in a competitive environment. But at the same time, it's not like a fluke. They needed to go really a long road in that Swiss. So it's really great to see those new players breaking out. And we can talk about the archetypes that are running. Mangolicious has Zoo, Aggro Shaman, Mid-range Hunter, and that Tempo Warrior. Seems pretty standard, I would say, right? In the current environment. While Slugg is running Aggro Shaman, Cthulhu Warrior, Zoo, and Mid-range Hunter.
Yeah, so they're effectively the same lineups except for the Warrior. One's Tempo and one's Cthulhu.
But we're starting, so not taking much of your time while casting. So, Subtle and Raven, take it away.
Thank you very much, Lothar. So it is going to be a good old-fashioned aggro shaman off here. Both players have that early Finley as well as the Abusive Sergeant. 1-3 plus Abusive Sergeant is one of the best tools you can have in an aggro mirror, just because it trades so effectively early. Both have effective cards to back that up as well. Flame Tongue Totem is great for early trading in the mirror. Argent Horse Rider, same thing, but the early threat of a 4-mana 7/7 is a very, very big deal as well.
Yeah, I think the second that the 7/7 goes unanswered for just even one turn, is you get such an advantage. If that thing connects to face once, that is so much damage that your opponent then has to recover from. But this is I feel like I'm getting pretty good at casting this matchup, as we've seen it a little bit over the weekend so far. But we do normally see in this matchup both players putting everything into winning that board early on.
Yeah, it's interesting because actually sent back the 7/7, and you actually see the 7/7 come into hand at the top there instead. So he chose to go for the quickest start that he could, which is often correct, gets the 7/7 back anyway, but as I said, in this matchup, it's usually correct to just fight for the board because so much of the game is decided by that early board dominance. We saw that series that you cast with Firebat early, where you so succinctly pointed out the lava burst for board control early on was the thing that decided the game.
Yeah, and the problem is the 7/7, as we've mentioned before, amazing stats, only one minion.
Yeah.
What if by turn 4 your opponent has 3 different minions on the board and you're falling behind at that point? So I kind of like the throwaway there for the mulligan initially because the turn 1, 2, 3 for Shaman is so important that if you keep a 4-drop and then the rest of your mulligan doesn't go your way, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, so we see Life Tap and Fire Blast picked up off the two Finleys. Neither player electing for Hunter. I didn't see which options were available, but honestly, the mirror is somewhat of a game of chicken with the Finley selection. Sometimes players might feel like the Hunter pick is too all-in. The Warlock pick is a risky one as well, though, because you get into that situation where you're helping your opponent do the job that they're trying to do, which is kill you.
Yeah, the problem with the Hunter pick feels, and always just feels like the natural one. Right? You're playing the aggressive deck, even more damage, but it's nowhere near as flexible as some of the other picks, like the Ping, like the Warlock Hero Power. So I kind of like going away from that, especially this early in the game.
Yeah.
So, it's like, I've put them on the clock of 15 turns. So, you might not always get the time to actually, get too much effort from that. But the totem does come down there. So we see now that Slugg is going, has managed to go pretty wide, which is important in this matchup.
Yep.
As having multiple minions to trade away is is superior to having a singular large minion because neither players play Lightning Storm, more than likely. I'm almost certain.
Right. I mean, the Totem Golem pickup on that turn from Slugg was huge because, like I said, he had that 1/3 plus Abusive Sergeant combination, which gave him a great trade on the board. But he didn't want to play just a 2-mana Abusive Sergeant. He had 2 mana available plus the coin. He had nothing to curb out with the Abusive Sergeant. So that Totem Golem pickup was almost perfect. The only downside to it is that it now locks out his development on the following turn, but with 3 of his most expensive cards in the deck in his hand already, apart from Doomhammers, there aren't many things he'll draw on the following turns that he won't be able to play. Worst comes to worst, he always has Mage Hero power that at least affects the board in some way.
Yeah, and also, unless it's a healing totem, the combination of any of this Totem Golem trading to any of these minions means Ping's going to get some work done. Guaranteed. So even worst case, your hero power is going to do something. Unless this snipes the 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, face is the only real bad outcome there because even, getting the 3/3 to contest is relevant. Lightning Bolt pickup is huge here because now he can take full board dominance, but casting the Lightning Bolt on this turn gives up the Flame Wreath Faceless and potentially gives your opponent initiative if they have the 7/7. Because the first 7/7 obviously has the initiative to attack, and if they want to trade into yours, or they can take the aggressive line.
Yeah, I think this is worth though.
I do too.
You can trade, you keep the 2 minions, and it's worth because you have Tuskar Totemic, so you go even wider on the board.
And importantly, Lava Burst, because if the 7/7 was going to come down here and threaten that kind of initiative play, you have Lava Burst plus 2/1 to trade in, and that works out fine for you as well.
Yeah, like you say though, it does, a lot of the time it does come down to a game of chicken where it's like trade, and then the first person who identifies that okay, the cards I have in hand, I'm gonna win now if I just go aggressive and flips that switch.
Yeah.
If it works out, they win the game very quickly a lot of the time, but if they misjudge it, it can be the downfall. So what maybe on the surface seems like a smoke matchup, it's actually very, very intricate.
Yeah, the early fight for the board is important, and that sort of final counting of damage and push in an aggro mirror is much more complex in an aggro mirror than it is aggro versus mid-range, because aggro versus mid-range, you can just look at the damage in your hand and say, yeah, okay, I'm going to get there, and then you go. Whereas in an aggro mirror, you also have to consider, okay, if I just start going all face now, do I win the race? Because my opponent,
he can do it.
My opponent's trying to do the same thing as well. So you have to find a balance here. And the 7/7 does come down. There's 2 strong 3-mana options here. And I don't mind, even though the Lava Burst is a perfectly clean play to get rid of this, I absolutely don't mind the Tuskar play because exactly like you said, that 7/7 is only 1 minion. And if you can build a big enough board state, you can essentially slow down that 7/7, force it to trade 1 by 1 into your minions. Which, I say force, that's never going to happen. They're not actually going to use the 7/7 to trade, but you can make going face with a 7/7 a losing play because your board is too big
and even
in
making your opponent consider it is better than giving them an obvious play. I really like Tuskar.
Yeah, I like it too.
And it means next turn you're unlocked. There's no overload you have to worry about. Anything you draw, if you draw Doomhammer, or you can just Lava Burst Lightning Bolt, or any combination Flame with Faceless Lightning Bolt, you can do way more next turn as well. It does only get the Wrath of Air Totem, but still, it's just just another creature on the board.
Yeah, I mean that's the other reason why Tuskar Totemic was solid is that so many of the options were strong for him there. Because not only was the power roll's good, Manatide, Flame Tongue, Totem Golem, obviously. Taunt Totem potentially blocks the 7/7, and now the Wrath of Air Totem that he got actually enables 3 damage plus Lightning Bolt to trade into the 7/7. So he had a lot of favorable outcomes from the Tuskar there as well.
Yeah. So, and on the other side there for Mango, his Tuskar did get the Taunt Totem, but just much less impactful when there's so many minions on the board. And this is the whole idea and the whole plan. And Slugg can, does have options in his following turn because he can just Flame Wreath Lightning Bolt, and you get to the point where you have so many minions on the board and the 7/7, then if Mango wants to trade his into mine, then I'm still winning on board.
Like, the god play here is the value trade into the Spell Power Totem. Like, that's actually the most relevant attack you can make right now. That would have been like an incredible read on Lightning Bolt if it had come out. The attack into the 3-attack minion is kind of playing into exactly what Slugg wants here. He now has perfect 7/7 of his own plus Lightning Bolt, and I doubt we will see any other play for that.
The hover over the Lava Burst for out of it like, Slugg, please.
Yeah, I mean, the trade down, the 2-1 into the 3-2, and now total board dominance has been achieved. Doomhammer has been picked up, which is normally one of the key cards in the matchup, but Doomhammer cannot race this 7/7, so he's effectively neutered the card here.
Yeah, he's going to be able to clear off the 3-2, and all he wants to do now is set up for Feral Spirits. They are very effective speed bumps, even for a 7-7, because at the moment, by clearing the board, as we said earlier, there's only one minion. It's a big guy, but you can only attack, once a turn. So you can clear one of the Feral Spirits if Mango manages to clear the rest of the board, which you can with another Doomhammer swing and the Ardent Squire into the 1-1.
I would expect... Oh, Flame Tongue is interesting, but, I mean, his life total is getting scary here, so he could use the Abusive to go into the 3-2 with the Divine Shield, leave up the 1-1, which isn't really a threat to one of your Feral Spirits, unless Flame Tongue Totem. But yeah, just tanking another 3 damage with your face here just seems pretty scary. You haven't seen any Lava Burst come out of your opponent yet, so you're in danger of, even though you're walling out the big threat on the board, just dying to burst over the top. But we'll see what he goes for here, because suddenly
could even use the Flame Tongue.
Yeah, I mean, the Flame Tongue Totem changes the play, of course. This was before he drew it, so... But yeah, he's actually going to play it down to buff up the taunts. This is what I said. This is what he's going to consider.
So surely now he has to kill the 3-2,
now he's
right?
more or less obligated to take another 3 with his face. Yeah.
This is interesting because you always wonder as well, if the Flame Tongue Totem was on the Squire, like, is it that much of a deal of one of your Feral Spirits not hitting for 4, hitting for 2? Is it really going to change the outcome of the match that much? I don't know.
I mean, so
they do trade into the 7-7.
Yeah, he would choose to trade his 7-7 into the 2-3, of course, most of the time, and that means that, if any removal spell is brought out, then he can take out the other one, and his 7-7 is still healthy on the board. So, like, I buy this line to an extent, but he does have to be extremely concerned now about his own life total.
Why the Doomhammer into the 1-1 totem instead of the Ardent Squire?
Because I'm not entirely sure. I mean, in terms of breakpoints, 9 versus 10 is not really a relevant number. So he may
I'm thinking of more damage to your
right,
because you do have to kill them, right?
On the flip side, you also just deal more damage going the other way. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he has Abusive Sergeant in the board, he might still be, holding on to the fact that he can use that Divine Shield for a good trade on a later turn. But yeah, that whole turn was definitely a divergent path from what I would have done with the Flame Tongue positioning, his choice of trades even after his Flame Tongue positioning.
I feel like every choice led to a different outcome that he just had to follow one after the other.
And I don't get me wrong, I don't think my line ends up winning this game. He's in a world of trouble. So when you're in a situation that's this far behind, you very, very often just kind of focus on one out and then you play towards that. Yeah. Sometimes when you're casting the game, it's hard to identify exactly what the plan your opponent is, but like whatever it is, it's going to be a very, very low percentage out, and they're just going to be specifically playing.
Yeah, you just go for it, right? Yeah. There's no point conceding if there's even a percentage chance you're going to win.
But now he has set up a fairly intimidating board of his own here. That 2-3 is still in the way, walling out the 7-7. So unless Slugg can pick up an answer, he's not going to be threatening lethal just yet. And now the Abusive Sergeant does potentially create a nice trade into the remainder of that 7-7, but there is going to be more board for him to worry about afterwards.
Yeah, I was just thinking how much like a Rockbiter draw would change the game a little bit, because the 7-7's been slowed down.
Yeah.
If there's a Rockbiter with just those last 2 charges, like, how much more damage would we need to catch up to this 20 here? But I think it still might be a bit much.
Yeah, especially since he basically has a dead hero power at this point. He's going to find it very difficult to tap. I don't think he's tapped once, no.
Yeah.
He's been overloaded a fair amount because he's played Doomhammer and Feral Spirits. He's also had high value cards in his hand, so he's been spending most of his mana on most turns. But yeah, the choice of hero power has been relatively negligible because he hasn't used it so far. But same is true from the other side. There just hasn't been a lot of hero powering going on in this game. Finley's were just mainly used as those 1-3s to control the board
early. Which are pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the big reasons people play Finley, honestly, is like, sure, some classes will prefer another hero power, but also, especially in a tournament meta where Camel Hunter exists, sometimes it's just nice to have a 1-drop in your deck, and a 1-3 is like, with the removal of Zombie Chow from the game, a 1-3 is like one of the only cards left that contests aggro decks particularly well.
Yeah, the Flame Tongue coming off the Tuscato Temic, it's pretty nice. It means you can play Abusive Sergeant onto the Squire and get a pretty nice trade onto the Flame Wreath Faceless. Although he did look like he was just aiming at the Trog.
No, you would abuse the Squire into the 7-5, and you take the value trade onto the Trog, and then you cross your fingers because suddenly you are getting within the region of threatening lethal yourself, but Rockbiter is now exactly the 3 damage that he needs. And yeah, suddenly after talking about how negligible the hero powers were, comes in, picks up lethal with the Rockbiter. And that is going to be 1-0, and the Shaman mirror to open the series in which both players did not ban Shaman is very, very important, because whenever a Shaman is left up, there is, of course, that danger of it coming out and sweeping 3-0. So
yeah, we've seen it happen.
Yeah, we've seen it happen, and the player who obviously wins the mirror is now in the driver's seat to be able to do that. But if you're leaving Shaman up, you have an answer to Shaman in your lineup, right?
You would hope so, but we've actually seen some players, you know, their answer is the mirror, and they're just going to say, I'm going to win. I'm just going to take the, you know, maybe not as straightforward as 50-50 depending on like deck composition, but overall a mirror, you just say, 50-50, just to see how it goes. But that game was just played very well, or as well as it could be from both sides, but just show how important it is to just get the board. As soon as that lightning bolt came down, as well as the flame leaf faceless, it was game over.
Yeah, I like the almost disrespectful play of the Tuskar Totemic instead of Lava Burst.
Yeah, that was really good.
And just say, no, like, you know, that 7/7 is scary, but I don't have to respect it. I make my board too wide, too powerful. You're going to have to trade into me. It worked. You know, the blink happened. He traded into one of the 3 attack minions. The Lightning Bolt was perfect to take it out. And Mangolicious is resorting to his mid-range hunter here in response to the Shaman. And I mean, you're the hunter guy here, Raven, but in my experience, this is not a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, I think it depends on how his deck's built as well, to be honest, because obviously, like, if it's camel variant, then it's not going to be too great. We've seen some plays early where players can actually set up dealing with the tunnel trog that comes out of the camel for the Shaman. But overall, the matchup's pretty rough. Definitely winnable, but it relies on things really going your way, as opposed to anything else, like, you know, getting a very powerful Houndmaster off that the Shaman just can't quite deal with efficiently. Unleash definitely helps as we see more and more players trying to go wide, and the only thing here is because the deck lists are public, you'll know Unleash is in the deck.
Yeah.
And Unleash is one of those cards that's like a one-off now, maybe even 0 in Hunter lists, so maybe without that knowledge, wouldn't play around it too much.
Yeah, what I will say
is going to be aware.
Is the inclusion of the Unleash, or us seeing the Unleash in the opening hand there, probably indicates that it's not the Camel list, because the Camel list tends to cut Unleash most of the time, which then makes a bit more sense that he's queuing it into the aggressive Shaman, because, you know, a Camel list with no Unleash the Hounds is not going to be particularly effective against this deck when you're just ripping Tunnel Trogs out of their deck for them.
And is anything effective against this deck when there's an opening hand like this? As the Shaman's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I suppose there's only, you know, it's just missing the Totem Golem.
Right.
But everything else is there.
Yeah, because of the makeup of the hand, it's actually a little bit slow, which sounds ridiculous. It's a very aggressive start, but it's not like the absolute top tier of what this deck can do, because he can't coin double 1s, because then that leaves him with no play for the following turn. So he's looking at 1 coin 3, and then that then slows down his 7/7 for a period. So there's time for the Hunter to find some ways out of this. Quick Shot neutralizes the early play, so we will see the coin 3 drop come out here almost certainly. And like I said, that does slow down the 7/7 to an extent, which gives the Hunter some time to set up, but they already have good answers in the hand with Freezing Trap and Deadly Shot.
Yeah, and this is how Mango's going to play this matchup. It's all about time. He has answers. He has the Freezing Trap, Deadly Shot, and another Quick Shot as well, and the Kill Command. So he has a lot of answers, but...
You know, remember when you said he was just missing the Totem Golem? Yeah.
Sorry, Mango. But yeah, so the Totem Golem is there anyway, so suddenly it looks a little bit better. But there is a lot of answers for the Hunter, and the problem now with the Totem Golem is it makes it difficult for Mango to try and isolate the 7/7 to get a Deadly Shot or even a Freezing Trap, one or the other, right? But because that minion's the 3/4s on the board now, it's very difficult to deal with.
The other interaction that might end up being key here is Horse Rider versus Freezing Trap, because say, you know, a 7/7 or another big minion is isolated against the Freezing Trap, Slugg has that Horse Rider in hand to just neutralize a smaller minion and be able to push face, and Huge Toad is going to come down here to try and contest this board at least a little bit. You know, if the natural trade happens of the 3/2 into 3/2, then he potentially, if he gets the hit on the Totem Golem, he then has options like Quick Shot and Kill Command to be able to take out the 3 health, but Huge Toad just looking at a little mediocre in comparison to the quality of the minions that Shaman can output here.
Yeah, especially because it's just another Tuskar Totemic on the board, and even though, you know, you do the sort of half-risky trade of having to either throw the 3/2 into the Toad, or playing the Totem Golem into the Toad, which the Toad might kill it, just playing another Tuskar Totemic feels pretty good. It does look like he's hovering over the Horse Rider.
Yeah, you can also just send in the Cavalry, right? It looks like an appealing trade. Sometimes 1 out of 4 you lose your Horse Rider, but even then, You've just
still got a pretty strong board,
you've traded turn 3s with your opponent, and in the meantime, you're pushing 6 damage to face. That's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, that is definitely true. What we almost guaranteed won't see is him ignoring the Toad, I don't think, because Houndmaster's a real threat. Right. Every single time, if there's a beast on turn 3 for the Hunter, then you kill it, if at all possible, because Houndmaster just causes more headaches than it's worth. And we do see the Toad snipes the Horse Rider, so, you know, not amazing situation still for Mango, but that was a small victory at least that he needed to at least continue to have a chance in the game.
Yeah, and Slugg will be saying to himself, "Oh, I'm so unlucky. It hit my 2-1 instead of the free totem golem that I got from my Tuskar totemic last turn.
God, it just never goes my way."
Yeah.
So now the hand is answers, pretty much for Mango. It looks like quick shot into freezing trap's going to be pretty nice, especially if he bounces the totem golem and plays the 7/7 and then deadly shot, and can still whip in a hero power after that. So, you know, a hand full of answers with Hunter kind of seems weird because you normally, in a standard matchup, want to just curve out with minions every turn. But this is shaping up to be exactly what he needs to just prolong the game. And once Hunter can get into, say, Call the Wild turns, then maybe that's enough.
So, I mean, the natural play here does look like attack and play 7/7.
Because you've just procced a freezing trap.
Right, exactly. One of the biggest answers to your 7/7 is gone, but it looks like Slugg has the discipline here to play out the wide board and mitigate his deadly shot. So from this play, it looks like he's just really, really looking to commit that 7/7 on a board that has other minions on it, so the deadly shot alone is unlikely to be enough.
And this is really good as well, because what this is displaying is a skill in which he's saying, one way I get completely blown out this game is if I play this Flame Wreath and then he has deadly shot.
Yeah.
And then I'm just, suddenly the game's flipped on its head and it looks very grim. So he's, like you said, the discipline to just play out the Tuskar Totemic. Obviously it helped that he had the Squire as well to fill out the curve. It made the play much more appealing, but just really disciplined from Slugg there.
Yeah, but now the combinations of mana in his hand are a little bit awkward. I mean, the Frozen Totem Golem is looking a bit more unappealing at 4 mana, so it looks like it's just going to be a straightforward turn of just pushing the 4 damage that he has, using the Lava Burst for removal. Now his board is suitably wide, and he's left himself 4 mana for the next turn where he can develop the 7/7 now if he'd like to. So it's a interesting line that he's gone down. I think it's a really, really strong line. Obviously, he'll be looking at the deck list, so this may be that there's a double deadly shot list, for example, and he's really,
and you just don't want to lose to it.
Yeah, right. He's just like really valuing the threat of deadly shot very highly.
Oh no, my play instead of the 7/7 is the Tuskar Totemic and an Argent Spire.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do this. So the Elic does come down and win the Joust with a 2-drop. Doesn't happen often.
Yeah, Flame Juggler is a pretty good 2-drop to have when you're facing down an aggro deck. Can take out the Divine Shield here, enable a value trade, but I mean, this is not a matchup where at this point you want to be weaving in hero powers all the time, so just the extra value of the Animal Companion.
And the problem is, if the Juggler hits any other target of the minions that are on the board, the Healing Tome just heals it back.
Yeah.
So it's just like, there's literally a 1 in 4 chance of getting a good Juggle, and is the 2/3 worth it versus the value of the Animal Companion? It looks like Mango thinks it is, but I personally would have agreed with you and gone with the Animal Companion.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess he's looking at that Animal Companion and thinking, you know, 1 out of 3 times it's Huffer, which is just awful against this board. Doesn't really get any work done at all. The only real value trade he can pick up is against a Totem. So
those Healing Totems can be pesky.
It certainly can. But yeah, the 2/3 on the board also threatens to get pretty much the same job done as most of the Animal Companions. So does weave in the hero power, has a lot of mana available to him next turn, but he's just not really picking up any way to fight back. Like, he's doing fine on answers for now, but answers aren't going to be good enough, because if you're going to play the answers game against Shaman, you also need healing to back that up, or eventually they will get you.
I mean, effectively, I would imagine that there's like 2 turns maximum.
Right.
And if by then he hasn't either drawn something more impactful or a Call of the Wild for turn 8 at least, then he's in some serious trouble. Because as you said, there's nothing else he can do. He's like just about defending, but you'll never kill the Shaman this way.
Yeah, and Slugg is playing this game entirely on the board right now. He's recognizing that his board is not being answered and making the appropriate trades to keep it that way. So he's not being aggressive here, and his hand is kind of board-centric right now. So it makes sense that he's continuing to play for the board. Hasn't got that hand full of Doomhammers and Rock Biters and Lava Bursts. So
those hands full of Doomhammers.
Yeah, why can't I hold all these Doomhammers? Yeah, he's just playing the board-centric approach right now, and it's paying off. But double Misha could have a lot to say about this board right now if he's able to pick up the second one as well now.
Yeah, it's the benefit of wow, and he did as well. The benefit of Animal Companion is the minions themselves like overstatted,
right?
Because of the random effect of the 1 in 3 choice. But when you can just double roll Misha versus aggro, then you're feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, Rockbite is a nice pickup though. Deals with the problem of the first one of these Mishas at least very, very nicely with just the Divine Shield. But the downside, I mean, if Slugg's been scouting out the list, he's going wide here to play around things like Deadly Shot, but we saw there's an Unleash in this deck as well. So going wide, of course, plays into the Unleash the Hounds world as well. And I think Slugg is just going through the merits right now of what those two cards in combination do together. It's like, I've played around Deadly Shot for so long. My board is really, really wide now, so I feel safe playing this Flame Wreath Faceless. But is there a 2-card combination that can punish me right now?
Yeah, there was a nice, there was a potential nice option for using the Rockbite and the Lightning Bolt, using the Divine Shield and the 2-1, even though it wouldn't slightly add up to kill the 2 Mishas, leave the 2/3s alive. But because of the overloaded Totem Golem, the Freezing Trap Totem Golem, he was just 1 mana off fitting any of those in.
Right.
So it wouldn't quite work out. So he's just gone for the Flame Wreath Faceless and leaving one of the 2/3s alive as well.
Yep. So there is a 50-50 here if Mangolicious would want to take it. He can just kill command the 2/3 and then throw the Deadly Shot out to the heavens and see what happens.
Yeah, it's really tough because even that play just hands the game back over to the Shaman.
Right.
And it's like, okay, go again.
Yeah.
Whereas he could actually just go for Tiger and kill command the 2/3, which looks kind of weird, but then you can almost guarantee you can kill the 1/1 and then Deadly Shot the 7/7.
But you know that the contents of your opponent's hand is at least 1 minion, because you know it's there. You know it's a Totem Golem.
True.
So if you play the Tiger, the best that your hand does right now is recreate the same situation.
But you have
a
Tiger.
Turn. But you do have a Tiger, and that is progress. But in the meantime, you've been domed for 7.
Oh,
wow.
1 in 3, and he got the 1/1.
So this is the line that neither of us considered.
No.
I was going for the 50-50. You wanted to play the Tiger and the kill command. He actually just went straight up for the 1 in 3 to try and go for the glory of the 7/7.
Well, to be honest, sometimes you have to make the big risky plays.
Right, how do I win?
Yeah,
right?
and you know what? I win by this Deadly Shot hitting the 7/7.
Yep.
Playing the Tiger and going from there, because suddenly there's only 3 power on the board for the Shaman.
But there is a lot more than 3 power on the board right now. He is effectively at 8 health right now, which means he is in a world of pain. There's 3 in hand already, so any Lava Burst, any Doom Hammer that gets picked up in combination with this Rockbiter is going to spell the end of the game. And on top of that, he just has this ridiculously oppressive board to try and deal with, for Mangolicious to try and deal with. So this is quickly spiraling out of control. And like I said, the winner of the Shaman Mirror in this series was going to have a very, very good chance to snowball.
Yeah, and even the Tiger, other than a Houndmaster coming out, doesn't do anything.
No.
Because, yeah, you kill the 2/3, but then kill command doesn't kill the 7/7, or you kill command the 2/3 and then, oh, hang on, Tiger's still 5 damage like kill command, and he's still not going to kill the 7/7.
Yeah, you'd have to Houndmaster the Tiger, kill command the Taunt, and trade with the 7/7,
exactly.
And then, again, you're just handing initiative straight back again. Like.
And only on 5 health, things are not looking good for Mango. This Elic is going to have to pull one hell of a minion. Well, it's a good minion.
Yeah, that is
it's
one
just
hell
not
of a
good
minion.
enough in this situation.
Just doesn't quite
good
get
job,
the job
Elic.
done.
You did your best.
A nice juicy Chillmore might have been the order of the day there, but even then, not really going to happen. And
I think they needed a Yogg and then extra mana to play it somehow.
Yeah.
That would have been one hell of an Elic.
He needed to somehow King's Elic into double innovate Yogg-Saron. Have you seen that one happen before?
Once or twice in my dreams.
Okay.
But no, that was, again, just always on the back foot for the Hunter there. Just never any chance. Even with early answers to the initial aggressive opening from the Shaman, just wasn't enough because didn't play any minions for the first, 4 turns, 5 turns maybe?
And yeah, that was considered his best option from his perspective against Shaman. So, ooh, yeah.
What's next? What does he have next? Is the is this the Cthulhu Warrior or the mid range or the Tempo?
This is Mangolicious who has the Tempo Warrior.
Ah, it's Tempo. Okay.
Yeah, Slugg has the Cthulhu Warrior. So I'm kind of interested as to why he would go for the mid range hunter over this. Maybe he had faith in his list or the Unleash the Hounds, etc. But Seems like Tempo Warrior would have been the smarter matchup, but since this is last hero standing, there's always a consideration that sometimes you need to hold on to a deck for one specific matchup. So you can say, sure, I have a better chance right now if I queue my Tempo Warrior into this aggro shaman, but then he just snipes my Tempo Warrior with the matchup that he wants, and there's a deck remaining in his lineup that I can't beat unless I have my Tempo Warrior remaining.
For example.
Zoo, for example, is a very, very good consideration. So, yeah, I mean, he's probably looking at the long-term series where he realizes at some point he's going to have to win an unfavored matchup the way the lineups are going to play out, and he considered the unfavored matchup of the mid-range hunter against the shaman better than what he'd have to face doing it the other way.
Yeah. So it is going to be the Tempo Warrior versus the shaman again. And this is a pretty good matchup. This is probably one of the best you're going to get against the shaman.
Yeah.
I feel as the Tempo Warrior, and especially when this time Slugg's opening hand is good, but not as explosive as his previous couple of games.
Right. And the opening hand from Mangolicious is pretty dreamy here. Armorsmith, Blood to Ica, an early execute in case of an emergency 7/7, and the Ravaging Ghoul as well. So plenty of ways to shut down the board development from Shaman early. And against a class that can gain life, if you don't get early board development, you don't win the game, because you can't just straight race them with a Doomhammer most of the time, because they're actually able to just gain armor and get out of range.
Yeah, and there's even a consideration to just Blood to Ica this 2-1. It might be a bit too defensive, but a lot of the time against Shaman, if you can just stop the first 4 turns from running away with them, they can kind of struggle to actually keep up.
I think Coin Armorsmith is more sensible here, because any 2-drop that gets played, you're probably happy just Blood to Ica-ing that on the following turn. Like, say the Flame Tongue Totem comes out as a punish, you can just Blood to Ica the Flame Tongue Totem on the next turn, and then you contest it on the board. If Totem Golem comes out, you can value trade Blood to Ica the Totem Golem, you're contesting the board. So, yeah, I think Coin Armorsmith is correct here. Does get essentially punished by the Flame Tongue Totem, but as I said, Blood to Ica on this, perfectly fine.
Yeah. Oh, and he gets the monkey as well, so he's got the... that's kind of nice as well, because you don't want to be forced into playing a ghoul on 3 if there's no great effect from the whirlwind effect most of the time. So having the monkey to play instead is really nice for the warrior.
I also would not hate to see an execute here. It depends how much you fear Feral Spirits, because if Feral Spirits come down, you know, you're setting up this 2/2 on the board to trade with the Flame Tongue Totem. The thing that stops that is Feral Spirits. If Feral Spirits come down, you don't want to spend your entire turn next turn executing the Flame Tongue Totem. You want to be playing Ravaging Ghoul.
It's a tough one as well, because for turn 3, the way you'd normally expect the match to go on like everyone's perfect curve is you'd want to go monkey, and then turn 4, Ghoul execute the 7/7.
Yep.
So, you know, it's really clean. You put a 3/3 on the board and remove their 7/7, then they're overloaded, and then you just cash in on that. But like you said, with the Flame Tongue Totem down, the Feral Spirit is going to cause some havoc.
Yeah, I 100% not against holding on to the execute here. Like,
it's definitely an option, though.
Yeah, it's just about what you fear, right? If you're fearing Feral Spirits coming out right now, then executing the totem makes sense. If you're fearing the 7/7 in a later date, then obviously you need that execute. And maybe the rationale that you could present as to which one of those is better is that you're probably not going to just lose the game to Feral Spirits right now.
Yeah.
You could lose the game to a 7/7 on the board when you don't.
Because there's no other way the deck has to deal with it, right?
Right.
It's like it's execute or a lot of minions, and at the moment this early, like on curve, you normally don't have a lot of minions as the warrior. There's literally the 3 drops.
Went for the Tuskar Totemic there instead of protecting his Flame Tongue Totem's value on the board, which is very interesting, because now the Flame Tongue Totem is given up for free.
Yeah.
Fierce Monkey is going to come down, and if he can't find a way to pick up a nice trade into this, Arathi Weaponsmith on the next turn has a beautiful trade into the 3/2.
Yeah, because with the sheer volume of 3 drops that Tempo Warrior plays,
they're going to play one.
Yeah, and then like suddenly the totem, unless it's a Totem Golem, another Flame Tongue, you know, one of the top 3, then like the minion they're playing is going to be infinitely more valuable than the totem that gets left behind, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of interesting. I'm just surprised that wasn't a Snap Feral Spirit. It's not as if there is a Flame Wreathed Faceless to play on turn 4, and the Overload would have messed it up.
So thinking about it, there was a situation in the last game that was similar. A lot of the regular totems are actually good for him there, because Taunt Totem would have protected his Flame Tongue. Healing Totem would also have protected his Flame Tongue.
That's true.
Not from what we can see, because we see that Ravaging Ghoul could have messed that up. But actually, as well as the power outcomes, 2 out of 4 of the regular totems were powerful.
Yes, that actually ups the percentage quite a bit more.
Yeah, suddenly
and it was already good.
Suddenly you're looking at 5 out of 7 good outcomes, and he hit one of the 2 bad ones. So kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, it was definitely, although it was quite high odds, it definitely wasn't the safe play of just saying Feral Spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
So, taking a bit of a risk, but why not? He's 2-0 up.
Yeah, sure. So now the Feral Spirits have come down. He's going to pass up the value trade into the Monkey, or not the value trade, the preemptive trade into the Monkey. And the Ravaging Ghouls can potentially get a little bit of work done here, allowed the 2-2 to trade up, but not looking too effective right now. Might just be an Arathi Weaponsmith turn. Does also have the Blood to Ichor to go with it, so Blood to Ichor on the 3-2 plus Ravaging Ghoul starts to look a little bit more appealing.
Yeah, it's going to look
pretty
pretty
nice.
nice. Make the trades pretty cool, and again, just, your opponent's going quite wide on the board, and then the Warrior's like, I can do that too.
Yep.
And also opens up the door for potentially for even just starting to get Battle Rage or planning to get Battle Rages off going forward.
And yeah, this is the problem. The exact problem I talked about at the start of the game, where early minion development has been shut down. Now you're just drawing damage. But just damage isn't good enough.
You're not against Warrior.
Yeah, you just haven't got the pressure through. And it's not like, against Rogue or whatever, where just the 16 damage from Doomhammer alone is pretty much enough to get you there most of the time. You have to do a lot better than that against Warrior. And what that means is getting early minions to stick to the board for repeated damage and repeated pressure. Tempo Warrior's early game package so effective at shutting that down.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many cards that the odds on you mulliganing and not having any, or at least two of those good cards early on, is very, very slim.
Yeah. It feels a lot like the old Patron Warrior versus Secret Paladin days, where, if you just hit anything out of, like, Fiery War Axe, Unstable Ghoul, Armor Smith in your opening hand, you just felt great. It's like, okay, sure, job done.
Game's going to be a good one.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very similar situation where so many of your cards interact favorably that it's hard to get an opening mulligan if you mulligan correctly that doesn't have something to do that's effective against what Shaman wants to start with.
Yeah, and Arathi Weaponsmith is going to be nice here with the 2-1. That, the power of Blood to Ichor. The ooze is still there. Now it's going to help trade with the Totem Golem, clear it up. And that Warrior's looking pretty good because Kor'kron Elite as well, just on-demand removal to a large extent in this matchup.
Yeah, Flame Juggler, not what he needs here. I'm not sure entirely what he needs. From his perspective, he wants some huge play on the board, so he'd probably be looking for a Flame Wreath Faceless, but we can see the Flame Wreath Faceless would be immediately shut down, so he may even be considering the merits of a Lava Burst for board here, just to try, just hope against hope that he can get something to stick on the board and start pounding through.
I don't think there's any other option.
Right. But I mean, straight away, that's a 6 damage Lava Burst that you're committing to a minion, which means you're living in the world where this Flame Juggler connects to face 3 times to try and make up for that damage loss.
No,
which
you're living in a world where you want to draw Doomhammer next turn.
Yeah, sure.
There's one of the very few cards he can draw that I'll actually give him at least a smaller chance to win this game.
Yeah, but I think one Rockbite has already gone down as well,
That's
right?
true.
So, like, the maximum damage output from the Doomhammer over time is problematic as well, and the threats just keep on coming here. And now he's picked up the Whirlwind. He's actually free to commit the Ravaging Ghoul to the board just as a threat, because now he has a second Execute activator in his hand. And as you said, that Kor'kron Elite is still sat around waiting to pick up a value trade whenever it becomes apparent.
Yeah, and also as the Warrior, having the board like this allows you to even hero power every turn.
Yeah.
Because you're already ahead, and you can probably make the good enough trades to even the board out. And you can just use 2 mana every single turn. Because a lot of the Warrior's curve is quite low, actually. It does normally have like Malkarok, Rag, Grom, and maybe even Varian. But that's it. Everything else is like 5 below.
Yep, Healing Totem picked up off the Tuskar Totemic. So after his initial Totem Golem fireworks, Slugg's Tuskar Totemics have started to let him down a little bit. And just even more defensive options now for Mangolicious. Bloodhoof Brave comes into hand, which, when your opponent's just played a 3-2, 2-6 seems like a pretty nice shape.
Yeah, and especially when you're on 27 health, going up to even more now. Like, you got to get through 6 health on the minion. The Ghoul's still alive to continue to trade, and there's still the Warrior with pretty much starting health.
And you just drew the worst card in your deck in this situation. Argent Squire is just way too ineffective at this point. Would have loved to have it early on, tried to leverage it with the Abusive Sergeant, Flame Tongue Totem, that kind of thing, push damage in that way, but even the early Argent Squire would have been shut down immediately by the Blood to Ichor that was in the opening hand, which just goes back
it's like
to
the perfect answer.
Yeah, it just goes back to how favorably the Tempo Warriors' early options
another
interact.
taunt.
Yeah, good. Just what we always needed. More health to put in the way of our hero.
Yeah, and you know what? It's taking a lot of discipline from Slugg not to concede at this point. This is there's still a long way to go in the match if he wants to, but drawing a singular card every turn when this is even this before there's anything played this turn.
There's
It's
actually
going to be very difficult.
There's actually no harm in conceding here, because I made this point yesterday where, you know, if you're the kind of player that just gets frustrated in situations like this, and if you're just not having a good time playing Hearthstone right now,
and
there's no harm in just conceding the game and moving on to another one, because the deck lists are out there.
Exactly.
You're not digging for information anymore, so
it's like not dig for information, holds up paper of deck list.
Right. all you're doing right now is just mentally draining yourself in a particularly unwinnable game, but suddenly Doomhammer pops up and goes, maybe you should keep playing, but really, what is that Doomhammer going to do right now?
You have to Doomhammer at least once into a 5 attack minion, then into a 3, and that doesn't even kill the 3/4, and it's just...
Yeah, and Slugg's head goes into his hands. He tries to just calculate any kind of way that he pushes through.
Tries to aim Doomhammer at face.
Yeah.
Says no, you're not allowed to do that because taunt exists.
You must attack a minion with taunt. Yeah. That's the old meme, actually. They've changed it, haven't they? So a minion with taunt is in the way now, I think it says. Yeah, they changed
Believe
it
or not, Sol, I don't really try it too often. Do you really just keep going for it?
You've got to meme it on stream every now and again. When they top deck the taunt to prevent your lethal, you've got a meme pointing at face, right?
That's clearly where I've been going wrong.
Yeah.
So the Whirlwind's going to come down, clear off the rest of the board, put even more pressure and more taunts as another Bloodhoof Brave is down. And Slugg, still holding off on this concede.
Yeah, and he just no longer has the health to tank through these minions with the Doomhammer, so it's out of options. Didn't have the damage to go face, doesn't have the resource to try and outvalue him with the Doomhammer, so he is just going to give it up in the honorable way, double tank the Bloodhoof Brave. But yeah, this series is still set up favorably for him. He has his mid-range Hunter and his Zoo remaining, so the mid-range Hunter can get the job done here, potentially.
Yeah, I think it's just most important in terms of it's not Zoo against Tempo Warrior. You just want to play the Hunter first and try and get the win. As obviously Slugg only needs to win one more game.
Yeah, and this is a matchup I've heard conflicting opinions on. I've heard people say that it's mid-range Hunter favored. I've heard people say that it's Tempo Warrior favored. I personally have had a pretty successful win rate from the Tempo Warrior side, so I tend to come down on that side of the argument, but primarily for the same reasons we talked about quite extensively in the Shaman matchup, which is Hunter's early game minions are fairly awful. Yeah. So when they start trying to interact with Fiery War Axes and Blood to Ickers and Ravaging Ghouls, they're going to have a bad time. And if Tempo Warrior gets the board early, mid-range Hunter classically not great at getting back on the board. So it tends to snowball out of control. But cards like Fiery War Axe are absolutely crucial.
Yeah, and I think as well, he's going to play the Zoo. Fair enough.
I mean, he has 2 chances, right?
Yeah, so, why not? Why not play it? There's no reason not to, really. But yeah, just to finish off the point on the Hunter versus Warrior matchup, which we may see, I definitely feel like the Warrior needs to continue to curve into the late game to secure the win, because the second they sort of start to dead draw late on, if they don't get a big battle rage off, the Hunter can actually punish them, because Hunter's late game is actually pretty nice. Yeah,
there's a turn somewhere around turn 5 to 6 with Tempo Warrior where they can fall flat. That's quite often the turn that they take to, Blood to Icar and Acolyte or set up a Battle Rage play or something like that. They don't really have like a big powerful curve minion to drop on 5 or 6 a lot of the time, especially now some of the lists are cutting Cairn.
Yeah.
So that is actually a really key turn that Hunter can push back, because they can say, okay, you missed development there, here's a high main.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
now I'm just going to start fighting back on the board, and if you can then curve that into Call of the Wild, then you can start getting some work done. But that's not the matchup we're going to look at. It's going to be Zoo versus the Tempo Warrior, where, again, things like Blood to Icar versus Argent Squire interactions are pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's like the perfect response, and there's a War Axe,
and there's a Ravaging Ghoul.
And even, so the best thing about Frothing Berserker a lot of the time is when you're playing it against an aggressive deck, you play it and they kind of have to kill it, so then it's just, it may as well have taunt at that point, because it can just turn around and kill you first if you leave it alone. So this is looking pretty good already for Mango.
Yeah, so Slugg is going to acknowledge the threat of this extra 2/2 on the board, makes himself play off curve, doesn't commit the extra abusive Sergeant. He's going to get the bad news that this play potentially gets messed up by the Fiery War Axe. You could theoretically coin Ravaging Ghoul here, and you have now drawn the second Whirlwind, because the danger of committing your big Whirlwind effect to the board is like Whirlwind is a card that Whirlwind is an effect that you're going to need in a more crucial situation than this later in the game, be it a Forbidden Ritual play, be it just a wider board that Zoo's managed to develop. But since you've now drawn that Whirlwind, having a 3-3 versus nothing on the board on turn 2 is pretty solid against Zoo.
Yeah, you're going to be able to deal with almost everything, and even the stuff you can't deal with, hey, there's Execute in hand.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Like, even the Councilman, you just execute it, get rid, and just keep going.
So it deals perfectly with a Councilman in combination with the War Axe that you have.
Yeah.
It doesn't deal particularly well with Imp Ganglers, and it's kind of a 50-50 toss-up between which of those two they're going to play on curve. The problem is if you go War Axe, then you're kind of stuck in the world of executing a Councilman if that comes down. So both of these lines have potential upsides and downsides, and it's very much a 50-50, and he's going to go entirely down a different line and just play out the Frothing Berserker here.
Yeah, and as we can see, he's going for the one that actually gets punished pretty hard.
Again, there's nothing wrong with this, though. You're just staring at an abusive Sergeant in the face, saying, okay, well, he's pretty unlikely to just have the second one, which is really the only card that punishes me here outside of, say, Soulfire. So, yeah, I mean, this is a perfectly fine play, too. It's just unfortunate for him that in this particular situation, this is the one play that does get punished by Slugg's hand.
Yeah, but also, yeah, I mean, the good thing about this play with the Frothing Berserker was your opponent is going to play minions, because that's what Zoo does, and then you have Ghoul with Frothing already on the board, and then you can start putting a lot of pressure on that way, and probably clear a couple of minions with that effect. But as you said, there was a really good answer there with the second Abusive, which you would have probably imagined would have come out as well, like on turn 2. Because to play Abusive on turn 2 and then just have a float 1 mana, sometimes people do commit the second one just to get more minions on the board.
Right. But still, no real harm done. Fiery War Axe does come out, can clear out the 2-2. It does mean the initiative has passed over to Zoo, which could have been different if he'd have gone down one of the different lines. But again, very specific punish in hand. Pretty much that one-of card that punished him for the play he made. So definitely don't fault him for the line that he took. But he now has a bit more of a struggle on his hand in terms of regaining this board. But with multiple weapons, executes, and 2 Whirlwind effects in hand, he does have time and he does have the resources that he needs to be able to fight back.
Yep. Something you just have to keep in mind is as he commits these Whirlwind effects to the board, then, you know, Forbidden Ritual, Forbidden Ritual,
that card,
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, does become a real threat, because one of the issues with the deck is when you don't have those Whirlwind effects, you can actually be in a good amount of trouble if someone Forbidden Rituals for like 5-6, and then starts using cards like Direwolf and, you know, not Abusives because we've seen them, but Power Overwhelming, Defender Vargas, and just start really pushing through. Too many minions you can't deal with.
I saw Slugg just give the little whirlwind motion with his hand there, as he'd expected the whirlwind to come, but based on his facial expression after the Ghoul, he wasn't expecting the double whirlwind effect. And now with no Forbidden Ritual in hand or in sight just yet, this 3-3 is going to dominate the board.
And he's just going to sacrifice the Direwolf to the Ghoul.
I mean, what does this achieve, honestly? I mean, I guess he has to chew through this 3-3 at some point, but the way it stands right now, he doesn't really have any way to do that last 1 damage. So
second War Axe followed up by an Armor Smith. Things are just progressively getting worse. But as we did mention, Slugg's going in with probably the worst matchup, because why not? Like, if he loses, well, he'll be against the Warrior again, and then he can play the slightly more favored matchup.
Yep, so Doomguard is going to come out right now and do at least something from Slugg's perspective to take back the initiative on the board. But Mangolicious's hand is pretty well equipped to deal with it. But the danger that he's going to run into here is that he is slightly running out of resources. He needs something that cycles for more than 1 card to refill his hand at some point, or else he's just going to get flooded by the Zoo at some point in the near future, especially with so many of the Whirlwind effects already gone. So he's going to be looking for Acolyte of Pain, Battle Rage, something like that in the near future. But having now picked up that Bloodhoof Brave off this slam, he can curve out very, very nicely for at least the next couple of turns.
Yeah, so this is really... I was just going to say, like, the Ragnaros and the Bloodhoof Brave look like enough to just win the game, right? You know, going forward over time. But if Forbidden Ritual's drawn and you can go really wide as Zoo, suddenly the Ragnaros isn't as much of a threat.
Yeah.
And then you just have to focus on the Bloodhoof, in which he can Dart Peddler into, say, Powerful One for...
Battle Rage, exactly what we were looking for. And yeah, the Ritual doesn't feel great to play into an Armor Smith, but still, it's kind of...
needs stuff on the board,
it's better than the alternative of just, you know, Dart Peddler. Maybe you get a decent 1-drop to play, but Bloodhoof Brave is going to come down and make a wall here. And Armor Smith just starts picking through these quite happily, restoring some health to the Warrior. And we're going to need some juicy-looking buffs from this Dart Peddler here if we're going to chew through this.
And also the Armor Smith is probably going to survive hidden behind the Bloodhoof, which means at worst a second Battle Rage for 2 next turn.
Yep.
Which 2 mana for 2 cards. I'm sure Mango's pretty happy about that. He'll take it in this matchup.
What else you will take is a Direwolf Alpha. If he can pick up a 4 damage card now from the Peddler to go alongside this, he can smash through that Bloodhoof Brave in a single attack, which means that he reduces the value of the Armor Smith significantly.
Yeah. He's also here to avenge the previous Direwolf that just got sent out to slaughter.
So this is actually a pretty big Peddler right now. It's very specific in what he's looking for. Abusive Sergeant is nice. You know, other buff cards will do the job, but Power Overwhelming would be the dream here. Doesn't get it. Does get a Mortal Coil, though, which is probably preferable to the Stone Tusk Boar in this situation, although the Stone Tusk Boar does get in for 2 because of the Direwolf Alpha. So.
Yeah. It's how much you value the card draw as well, because the tap's already...
Okay.
Sorry, guys. We saw the Murloc was picked and got confused for a second. I mean, is the Murloc better than the Boar when you have Direwolf?
Hard to say. I mean, he's already has these attacks, as you can see. He has the perfect amount of attacks to chew through here, so he doesn't need the Coil or the Stone Tusk Boar right now. So this was the best stats that he could pick. It's the most value on the board right now, but the utility of the Boar and the Coil in the future, you know, it seems like you're going to have to get through your deck quite effectively.
And also, you've seen multiple Whirlwind effects,
right.
So the Boar's, even at 1 health, is relatively safe.
Right.
Relatively.
So yeah, I mean, I personally would have valued the Coil because it seems like you're going to need more than 2 cards a turn to compete with what's coming out, especially since the Warrior's just refilled his hand with Battle Rage. So I would have liked the Coil, but he's obviously just going for maximum stats on the board right now, picks up the 1-2.
Yeah, just get the Power Overwhelming, which can go into Dark Peddler for a really clean trade. And now the 1-2, which could have been a 1-1 and still cleared off the 4-1.
Could have been a Mortal Coil.
Oh yeah, it could have been a Coil, sure. And it just leaves a lonely possessed villager.
It certainly does. And there is Whirlwind Effect number 3 being drawn. But
where's Rag going?
I mean, it hits the 1-1 every single time, right? Yeah.
Always going to
Possessed Villager tanking 8 like a champ. And now another one is out to jump in front of the fiery bullet for Slugg. Say, all right, I got you, buddy. We're going to tank this Rag all day.
Yeah, and he's putting 3 minions, and if the Rag does hit the villager, then at least that, you know, regenerates the 1-1 from the death rattle. So I don't think it's going to be enough, as the, you know, as you said, the Ghoul is down, and it can be another 2 cards from Battle Rage.
Yeah.
And you'd imagine at least one of those is going to be playable this turn.
Yeah, sure, we're going to see the Battle Rage come out here, pick up 2 more cards, and like I said, 3 or 4 turns ago now at this point, these cards have been so important because, you know, he's drawn 4 extra cards off Battle Rages now, and he still only has 3 cards in his hand right now. So imagine how, like, starved on resources he would have been if he hadn't have picked up those Battle Rages.
Do you ever execute?
I do sometimes execute. Yeah, I have been known to play that card. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought so.
Yeah.
Do you ever execute in this scenario?
Oh, well.
If you're going to be literal, Sol.
Probably not. I don't see what it really achieves. Yep. I think, like, you're just happy with the scenario. You're not under threat. You're not going to die to burst damage. You can make an intimidating board right now, and you have more of an opportunity to clean up on a later turn with the 2 minions that you have developed this turn.
Yeah, and with, like, the double threat of Ragnaros and a potential Frothing Berserker, if he goes for it, he can go for the Acolyte and just value card draw. Why not? You know, see, like as you said, card draw has been so important in this matchup so far. But why not take some more?
Yeah, it just holds on to the execute for now. It just doesn't really increase the chances of a good outcome too highly. And if you're just going to jam face like a god anyway, then who needs the execute, right?
Exactly. The plan is actually for Ragnaros to just hit face next turn anyway and finish the game. There is a tap into Doomguard, so Ragnaros can be cleared up. But that doesn't really leave too many good options. That's actually just game, unless I'm...
Well, no, you can just leave the Rag.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the Rag's going to go face. We talked about this.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. This is just game. Yeah. But, yeah, it's your only option to just take the value trade, try and prevent your taunts getting busted, and just power through. You have to start pushing the damage. You're only drawing one card a turn now, so you have to just get the job done. And Malkorok doesn't... Oh, no, Malkorok always gets the job done because you have the execute as well. So, yeah, unless you find that mythical 0 attack weapon, then you're going to be able to get the job done here. Hello? Sure, we're just not going to kill our opponent. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. To be fair, I also missed it for about 2 seconds.
Oh, the rag didn't.
So like my initial reaction was that we didn't have lethal as well. Yeah. So like in this situation, you can trust your initial instinct. You just look at it as like, yeah, it's not lethal, and then you just carry on. If you'd have stopped for a second to think about it,
it was the tap lethal. That's what we missed. Just force your opponent to live tap on 1, gets them every time. So Mango is going to go 2 now with Slugg, and it's going to be the Warrior versus the Hunter. So to be fair, Slugg went in with a a non-favored matchup just because why not? Didn't go too well though.
It did not. That would be one way of putting it. Yeah, it would be a bit of an understatement. That matchup did not go well for him, and I said when he was in the 2-1 position, 2-0 position, that he was still in a favored position in the series as a whole. That was true because he had multiple chances. I don't necessarily think any of his individual decks left remaining are favored against Tempo Warrior, but he had 2 shots to try and win. One slightly unfavored matchup and one fairly heavily unfavored matchup, which when you pile the percentages together means that he comes out favored. But now that has all come down to this one little kind of coin flippy matchup, he's suddenly in danger of letting it all slip away from him now.
Yeah, and Slugg's opening hand is interesting. At least he can bank on the Call of the Wild for turn 8. But double bow's not really what you want a lot of the time against Warrior. And on Mango's side, looking a little bit heavy, but this is pre-mulligan, so I imagine all of this is going to get thrown. I don't even think you particularly need to keep the Whirlwind when your other 2 cards are not great.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like a Whirlwind matchup. You kind of want Fiery Warax.
You just want Warax.
You want Warax.
Hard mulligan for
and
it.
like in emergencies, like Slam can do the job, and then apart from that, you want to hit your 3 drops. You want Fierce Monkey, you want Frothing Berserker, and those 2 cards, Fierce Monkey and Frothing Berserker, are a big part of the reason why the double bow isn't great, because 3 isn't always a number you want to do. You quite often want to do 4. We see that the Ravaging Ghoul is drawn, which along with Acolyte are the cards that you do want to do 3 for, but the things that the Tempo Warrior wants to play on curve are 4 health minions that the bow doesn't deal with.
But this is looking as good as it can get for Slugg at the moment, just because Mango's hand is not great. His hand seems to be working backwards in terms of curve, so he's probably going to draw a 2-drop now. Okay, execute, close enough. But like, there's no Warax, there's no play till turn 3, and it is a ghoul that does clear up the bat, but as you said, you can just go straight into bow if you want to and clear that up afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, unless a 2-drop is drawn here, I think we're almost certain to see Coin Animal Companion.
Yeah.
And then even though that can get contested quite well by the Ravaging Ghoul in theory, because Ravaging Ghoul will come down, it will sweep the 2-1, and even if it's, say, a 4-4 Misha that comes out, it then matches up on the board against
it's done the damage,
Misha.
right? Yeah.
So in theory, Mango will be thinking, okay, my opening hand kind of sucked, but I'm in this game now as long as he doesn't have Eagle Horn Bow.
And he has 2.
He's about to get the bad news that there is an Eagle Horn Bow.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Okay, Slugg might be my new favorite player.
I knew you were going to say that. I would have bet my house on you saying that.
What a god, Gladiator Longbow. And you know what, guys? He's here in top 16. He's played this deck through Swiss.
Yep.
It's worked.
He has longbowed some people's dreams away. That's what he's been doing.
Oh my goodness. But I wonder what kind of impact that makes when you know it's in the deck.
Yeah.
Your opponent look at the list is like, yeah, okay, Fiery Bat, yeah. Bow, yeah. Unleash. What is this?
So this all seems fine. So yeah, there is an interaction we could see here, which is Malkarok on 7 answered by Gladiator's Longbow for free, essentially.
Yeah. Oh my god. But for now, at least, this is looking pretty good for Slugg because the Korkron just goes straight into the Misha, but then just like gives you nod back to the Hunter to then carry on, which is what I said when we talked about the Hunter match beforehand, before the match even started, that if Hunter can just keep ahead or at least even up every turn. Speaking of even up every turn, drawing a 4-drop on 4 when you didn't have anything else is pretty good. It can actually just get ahead of the Warrior, and this opening hand from Mango is the issue. He got his top end too quick.
Yeah, he really did. But that Korkron trade was actually relatively good against precisely the hand that we see from Slugg, because there just wasn't a proactive threat to develop. So that Infested Wolf being drawn on curve is so huge. I can't overstate how important that is, because otherwise he just relinquished all pressure this turn, and we can see a Frothing Berserker being drawn from the other side would have stolen the initiative back for Mango.
Yeah, I mean, he probably would have just attacked and re-equipped Bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just wouldn't have done much against Frothing Berserker, as we said earlier. It would have needed, like, then Unleash the following turn or something awkward, and then it just starts to snowball out of control. But This is looking really, really awkward for Mango.
Yeah, I mean, Frothing Berserker now just gets value traded into. You basically throw it away to deal 3 damage to face, or 4 damage to face, sorry, that's all that's going to happen to it. So, I mean, even that doesn't look effective. I guess it sets up a Ravaging Ghoul for the following turn, but you don't want to be playing Ravaging Ghoul on the following turn. You want to start bomb chaining him with these cards that you've had in your hands.
And you have to, because how do you win if you don't, right? If you play, unless there's like Fire War Axe drawn, and then you can do that with Ravaging Ghoul, or something along those lines, another 3-drop like Monkey.
I really don't like him playing this. Like, not only is it just bad on the board, but you also give your opponent the chance to just slam Kodo. Like, I can only think that he knows there is no Kodo in the list, because otherwise this just reaches critical mass of, like...
You just lose.
Right. But, like, that's what I'm saying. It's already bad on the board, right? Like, you trade the 3/3, you trade the bow. Like, you've already achieved nothing. Yeah. So if there was a Kodo as well, then all of a sudden, like, it just becomes the world's most miserable player.
Yeah, this is the opposite of having to take a risk to win a game.
Yeah.
Because this is like, you're in a bad position, and it's only going to get worse if they have something. Like, you were already not there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess he's just using it as a little bit of a taunt for now, just to buy himself some time. And now that time has worked to an extent. Ken is coming down, but there's a card that has eclipsed Ken for a very, very long time, since the dawn of Hearthstone. That is Big Daddy Savannah Highmane. And he's mousing up. He wants it so bad. He wants it so bad. He just moused over it in his hands like, yeah, I'm going to longbow this guy. He's going to have no idea what hit him. Play Malkorok, see what happens. Do it.
But you do play Malkorok. That's the worst. I mean, that's... Yeah, you do, right? He can. I suppose he can attack in.
All analysis has gone out the window.
Yeah,
right? I just want him to play Malkorok so badly.
As well.
Yeah.
The bow's golden as well.
Yeah.
But no, like there is a way you can like attack in, execute, and then double whirlwind to clear off like the high main. But again, the wolf's still there, and then you still sort of feel like a step behind. Although Ken will go into main, but still be a 4/5. So 4/4, right?
Well, you're whirlwinding twice after you execute, right? So it'll be a 4/3 at the end of it, will it not?
Yes. Good maths.
Right. So he's he's going to do it the other way. He's going to take out the infested wolf and then execute and leave the 2/2s on the board. This makes sense because you actually get a ton of value out of your Ken this way. You don't even pop open the front half just yet. You also get to activate a Battle Rage. So I like this play a lot more overall, but I am really, really, really sad that we don't get to see Malkorok get crushed immediately by Gladiator's Longbow.
Yeah, it would have been sick if Malkorok gave him Gladiator's Longbow.
Yeah, no, that would have been the ultimate meme.
So, unfortunately, the play probably isn't Longbow this turn.
No.
As normal Eaglehorn Bow, its little brother, lines up a little bit better, and even potentially Unleash, but then Quick Shot looks pretty nice as well.
Yeah, Unleash, Quick Shot, and Hero Power doesn't look too terrible here.
Yeah,
you're starting to get to that point where your Hero Power is like, look, it's just shining bright in your face. It's like, look, that number is getting low. You press me and then he dies. So Unleash, Quick Shot, Hero Power looks fairly reasonable, but I don't mind the added tempo of the bow either because you invest in the following turn, but you can also get to the position fairly soon where you want to get Gladiator's Longbow equipped to deal with a big
I was going to
threat.
say, this just makes the Longbow easier to equip next turn without having any drawback of losing half your bow charge, and then still having Quick Shot in hand, and then, the awkward. This is just very mana efficient and gives him continued options next turn. But again, unfortunately, I think we might see a Call the Wild next turn as opposed to the Longbow.
Is he disrespecting this 2/2?
Surely not.
2/1 into a 2/2. Wow, okay. The Whirlwind blowout potential now is real, but let's not forget the alternate use of Gladiator's Longbow, which is a 7-mana Pyroblast, because that's what it can do over 2 turns. Plus
it is
you get
a Hunter card.
Yeah, plus you get to play Hero Powers alongside it, so he has a large amount of damage here. He can Gladiator's Longbow on there. Well, he can Call of the Wild this turn, then Gladiator's Longbow plus Hero Power on the following turn. So his damage output is massive here, but Frothing Berserker plus Whirlwind is one of the best ways you can come up with to try and race this board.
Yeah, he did it. Yeah, it was interesting not just doing the trade there earlier, but I mean, he can now just bow into the Berserker.
Yep.
If he wants to just, obviously,
sure can.
because this is not the most common card you're going to see in tournament play. So the Gladiator Longbow makes you immune when you attack with it. If people didn't know, so you can just bow into this Berserker and just remove any chance of like him just dying. next turn, which is pretty possible, and has actually forced him into it. So Mango managed to create an awkward situation there, as we see Call the Wild on 8 is normally always the play.
Yeah, but suddenly the bomb chain is real from Mangolicious' side. This is what he's kind of been waiting for the entire game, is this window to just start pushing the initiative here. Call of the Wild plus hero power can't be played on the following turn, so there is only 10 damage max if you're putting your opponent on Call, which you almost certainly are, because that card has been there since turn 1.
Yeah.
So what else is it? It's going to be Call
Gladiator's
of the Wild.
longbow.
Oh, if this is a double longbow list, then I will join you in proclaiming that Slugg is my new favorite player. He's going to Malkorok here. Malkorok just dies for free to the Gladiator's longbow.
Yeah.
You also lose the game 1 out of 20 times. Oh, so close.
Assassin's Blade's pretty good.
It is.
The 4 charges being the key thing there, is it's just so much repetitive damage. Is this actually going to be Mango's game?
I mean, it's tilting that way. Call of the Wild, of course, as well as being a strong offensive option, does put up that big Misha taunt in the way as well. So,
and with the second one now, that actually changes everything, because next time he can Call of the Wild hero power.
Yep. And so there is the free trade, no damage taken into the Malkorok, and he picks up the trade into the Cairn as well. So he is really recognizing that he's in a race situation right now. With that second Call of the Wild, he can just play for complete board dominance.
Is huge.
It really is.
It means that he doesn't have to use his face to go into the 5 attack Misha, and that would have put him to 10, and then obviously 12 if he hero powered this turn.
Yeah.
But like that extra damage was probably Slugg was probably banking on that to a certain extent.
So now what is the question? You've seen that card on the far left be used, which, I like that Slugg used the Call of the Wild he's been holding the whole time, not the top deck. That's really important, because Mangolicious will probably have a pretty strong read on what that card on the left was, whereas he has no idea what that card on the right is. So he would have revealed unnecessary information the other way. So now with the second Call of the Wild in hand, we see Mangolicious relinquishing pressure a little bit here by choosing not to play the Ragnaros. But Bloodhoof Brave is a very effective card against Call of the Wild.
Yeah, as the old 6 health being a bit awkward to deal with for most classes actually. But the 5 attack that you bank from the charging Huffer just isn't going to be enough, and there's nothing else in his hand that you can really do with it. I mean, he could Call the Wild and Freezing Trap,
and just hold.
which then not attack and just say okay, try and answer this, and then next turn you can go with everything.
Kill command. The damage is building up. Hunter is starting to do Hunter things.
Do you ever bow kill command, trap hero power, and then Call the Wild hero power next turn?
Bow, kill command.
To kill the 2/6?
Sure.
Excuse me, sorry.
And then you would, get 2 damage to face, so he'd be
and
at
freezing trap.
13, freezing trap up. I don't think that gets you anywhere. I think Call of the Wild freezing trap is better. That way, you're kind of expecting to deal damage next turn with at least some part of the Call of the Wild, and then you have Bow, Kill Command, Hero Power to back it up with a Beast on the board.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it that way around, but it seems that Slugg seems to agree with you.
Yeah, and he plays Gladiator's Longbow, so he must be right.
Can't be wrong. Yeah, exactly. The Hunter player on the desk and the guy who puts Gladiator's Longbow in his deck both agree, so I'm going to be outnumbered here. This has to be the correct play.
Oh, so Ragnaros is going to come down, so that's...
Ragnaros does not give a single damn about Freezing Trap.
Nope. But Call the Wild is going to prove a little bit of a problem for Ragnaros, and Grom used potentially next turn to kill the Misha won't work because of Freezing Trap.
Very, very true. So...
You do play Rag, right? Because it's just the stall, and it's just like...
So if you were to Grom this turn, you can Grom next turn. Like, actually Grom next turn. But you're only pushing 6 damage in the meantime with the 2 Assassin Blades hits, so that doesn't set up lethal. Enough, so yeah, I think Ragnaros is definitely the play.
Because also, your opponent's got 1 card, and it's a card he's recently drawn, as you mentioned earlier, because he played the old one. So that could just be nothing, to a largest of extents. I think you play the Elec now as well, with Rag on the board. Instead of the hero power.
Yeah, does the hero power ever change the clock? You get in for 5 this turn, so he's at 10. He armors up to 12 next turn. Hero power puts him back down to 10.
You get in for 8 this turn, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So he armors up to 10 next turn. I did it in the wrong order. But yeah, he armors up to 10 next turn. So 10 is what you have to beat.
The two enemies there in the joust, Kodo and Bloodtooth Brave.
And as always, Kodo beats Bloodtooth Brave.
In every aspect.
So yeah, 10 is what you have to beat here. So I actually would have kind of liked the hero power, because that way a 5 health dude surviving plus the bow plus the hero power on the next turn is actually lethal. So I potentially would have valued it,
but
the
one extra chance for Rag is too important, because you just lose, right?
Yep.
So give yourself that extra out or the extra minion to make the chance way much worse for the warrior.
This game is kind of nuts, by the way. This is coming all the way down to the wire. We've seen Gladiators longbows coming out. We've seen Ragnaros is flying. We've seen the Tempo Warrior just drawing all its bombs, Hunter having all the initiative, and now it's just come down to this final race. And like these race situations, one of my favorite things to watch in Hearthstone, because you have to consider so much. Like this is like Hearthstone in its purest form, where it's, you know, kill your opponent exactly one turn before they kill you.
Because that's how close you have to play it.
Yeah.
If you do anything else, you just mess up. Armorsmith, is that going to change much? I suppose it depends on what the Rag hits, right? You can play the second monkey and the Armorsmith.
Can, and that walls out potentially 2 attacks from the board. So yeah, he would not be dead to the board here. The armor up and the armorsmith essentially do more or less the same thing, which is gain 2 armor, because you gain 2 armor as the taunts are being chewed through. So I don't mind committing either here.
Yeah, I think with 1 kill command already gone, I prefer the armorsmith.
Right. Quick shot is picked up,
lethal,
and
right?
that is 7 damage, because he can Kodo the Armorsmith first, which is important. Now he has 2 trades into the Fierce Monkeys with the minions that can trade them out. Leok to face for 2, Hero Power to face for 4, Quick Shot for 7, and actually, the Armorsmith was his downfall. If he had gained the 2 armor, he would have got out of this, and he saw the Kodo get drawn. That's the crazy thing, right? It was off the Elic. He saw it. He knew it was in hand, so that Armorsmith actually never gains armor.
Yeah, that is a good point.
That game was awesome. I enjoyed that a lot. Gladiators longbow.
There was no like clear winner throughout the whole game. Like, it felt like every single turn was like each player was going, oh, okay, well that was a really good turn for them. They're going to push forward, and then oh no, it fell back again, and it just didn't stop. Did you from your face like that? Did you enjoy that one?
I was just like, the turn when the Armorsmith was being played, I was, oh god, please don't play the Armorsmith now. This is like the final turn.
To be honest, I completely blanked on it, because I was like, oh, the Armorsmith is good to like bank on more armor following. I was like, the Kodo.
I said it when he played it. I said the Armorsmith does the same thing, which is gain 2 armor, because I was trying not to have caster vision with the Kodo. But then I realized that everyone had seen the Kodo, because it was turned face up when it came out the deck. So. Yeah.
Oh my god,
I mean,
crazy.
There were 2 outs, right? Basically, quick shot and kill command because of that Kodo.
Yeah.
And basically that was the game. And it was an interesting race situation for HP with that Ragnaros, that the Armorsmith could have made a difference if it was sniped at Leok, if there would be, of course, no Kodo.
Sure.
But we have seen the Kodo. So we have our winner.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Was it stressful for you?
Yeah, very. That Ragnaros was just so...
That last game was so intense.
Christ,
I mean, like, we all loved it. And just the fact that you play longbow.
Please talk to me about Gladiators longbow. I want to know.
I mean, it's pretty good against shamans with the thing from below. And it's like entertainment value, right? So.
Nice. That's a good reason. And it seems to be working.
Because
of memes. Are you playing 1 or 2?
No,
one.
Come on.
No.
That's not a real question.
Because you said
setting 3 weapons is
he
enough.
played 2. He's a god. That's why I wanted to.
Because I knew that he wouldn't be playing 2.
Ardy was playing 2 flame strikes. So.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, anything can happen.
So I don't know if you when he played the Armorsmith right at the end there instead of armoring up. Did you have any reaction to that? Because he knew you had Kodo in hand, right? Because it came out off the
Elic. So I guess it's a mistake, but.
Well,
I mean,
it was
a
stressful
mistake
for
that you're very happy that he made, right?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, stuff like that happens. I made some mistakes as well. I think in the first game, Shaman vs. Shaman, I lava burst the Flame Tongue to make my 7/7 guy take less damage. And I was a bit unsure about that decision. I had some hard decisions which I might have regretted, but I think it's the best chance of winning anyway.
Yeah, I think we were talking about in that matchup, just the plays that look really weird, like using lava bursts like that. Actually, the plays that get you ahead because you need the board early on.
Exactly.
And once you've got that board, the first person who secures it wins.
Yeah,
Almost always.
and I also played a Tusker Totemic where I think I could have lava burst or just played a Foul Spirit. Where I just had 5 good outs. He had like a Blood to Ichor and
and you got the
I
one of 2 bad ones.
Yeah, so that's
I
kind
talked
of
about because like
disgusting.
Feral Spirits would always protect your Flame Tongue Totem, but you had like
but it
you had
really
the 3 great outcomes that were always from Tusker, plus Taunt Totem, plus Healing Totem.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it
And I
seemed
just
fine.
I will not be able to curve out if I do the other plays, so I just did it. It worked out.
Well, you have now the whole night to analyze your next opponent, because you will know exactly who will be playing after seeing the other matches, right? And you have the deck list, so you have the perfect information for the upcoming match tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be practicing a lot with my teammate Janus. He was the one making the hunter list. I went top 20 legend with it.
Nice.
On EU.
That's something that smart players do. They will practice the exact decks right now, right?
Yeah, but like you can't really take ladder for tournament.
No, I mean that you will practice with your practice with partner with the decks that your opponent will be playing, right?
Yeah, of course.
This is the way you will get into that mindset that you will have to get tomorrow.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Sweet. Anyway, that was the third top 16 match of the day, right? Congrats again.
Thank you.
Now we'll jump to a short break and we'll continue our march towards the top 8 for tomorrow. So don't go anywhere. This is the DreamHack Summer Grand Prix.